everyone and welcome back to some more Warcry for the channel. In today's battle report, the Iron Golems are back yet again, although their plan has changed slightly, and they're going up against the Rotbringers of Nurgle. The change in plan, in case you're curious, is last time they brought one big monster. This time their new plan is, what if we bring two? Just to see how it goes. Already rolled off for who is getting to pick attacker or defender. It was the Rotbringers. They've chosen to be defender since the movement speed is not their forte. Don't know what the mission is yet. Obviously we'll randomise that as and when. But first we'll start as always by going through both sides. So here is the Iron Golem list broken into dagger, hammer, shield at the back there as they appear to you. So we'll go from left to right. Front row we have the Dominar, who is the leader. We have a Iron Legionary with bolas. I was going to say iron bolas, but just bolas. Then we have the Ogre Breacher, and then returning a second time we have the Ogreoid Myrmidon right here, and we'll see if he can kill as much as he did last time. And then filling up the last slot, taking them to, I think it was 990 points offhand, it is a Mind Stealer Spiranx. Yes, I am looking at a bit of paper to remind myself of what this thing is called. It's on a huge base, a huge oval base. It does a lot of damage. It does 5 damage on crits. It has a lot of unique powers for doubles and triples that involve forced movement and dominating other people's minds. It's 260 points on its own. It's got 30 wounds. It can move very fast though, and it's toughness 5. So we'll see if that helps him out today. It's not most likely an optimal list, having so few bodies for an Iron Golem list, but we'll see how it works. Just as something else to try, and it's an excuse to get this on the table because it's a very fun and very chunky model. And here is the Rotbringers of Nurgle, broken into dagger, hammer, and then the 3 on the right here is the shield. In this case, we have a Lord of Plagues as a leader. We have the Harbinger at the back here. I never remember his full name. Harbinger of Plagues, is that what it is? Either way, then we also have 5 Blight Kings of assorted gear. We have one equipped with the Sonorous Toxin here. We have one with a Blighted Weapon here. So these two are together in the dagger. This is the hammer, the Harbinger, and this one with a Blighted Weapon. Then we have 2 with, they're called Filth Encrusted Shields. That is what they're called. They're Filth Encrusted Shields. And then we have another one with a Blighted Weapon. So they're all very slow because that's Nurgle's thing. They're slow. Although the Iron Golems aren't super fast either, to be honest. It's Harbinger of Decay. Sorry, I've just remembered. It's not Harbinger of Plagues, although I'm sure he has those as well. So very infantry heavy list, very slow but very sturdy, and if anyone can stand up to attacks from gigantic monsters, I am sure it is this lot. So after a quick word from our sponsors, we'll be back to randomise our mission and deployment type. And I think I already mentioned, but after a roll off, the defenders today are the Rotbringers. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. So we're going to randomise using these cards today instead of from the back of the 2nd edition rulebook. I'm going to just shuffle these, and then we're going to cut the deck, and we'll say this is our mission today. Under lock and key. After deployment, the attacker picks one friendly fighter on the battlefield to carry the key. The fighter is carrying treasure. Then the defender must pick one terrain feature to be a vault door. The battle ends after 4 battle rounds. When the battle ends, if an attacking fighter is carrying treasure and is within one of the vault door, the attacker wins, otherwise the defender wins. Alright, that's what we'll be doing today. So the attackers, Iron Golems, defenders, Rotbringers, and then the deployment type for them. Again, not as many to select from as in the back of the book, but hey, this means at least we can keep the cards nearby to make sure we don't miss anything. And we'll cut it here and say, boom. Realm Shaper Mishap. So this is from one of the boxes where the Realm Shaper is the main bit of scenery. It doesn't look like it's required for how it's laid out, so that's probably fine. The hammers start on the table 9 inches away from the middle, opposing each other. Round 2, the shields come in, and then the daggers come in. Oh no, everything comes in round 2. Okay, so hammers on the table, daggers and shields come in, with the daggers on opposing ends top bottom, and the shields left right. Okay, we'll get that set up. So here is deployment all finished with only the hammers on the table for both sides. That's 2 miniatures each, so it's going to be a quick turn 1 Round 2 onwards, though, everything's on the table and it will be full length turns from that point. Once everything is deployed 9 inches back from the centre, we have our Ogroid Myrmidon over here with the Ogre Breacher, both very powerful, so they got lucky the hammers were on first, with the Harbinger over here and one of the Blight Kings as well. So when everything is deployed, the attacker has to pick a character to be carrying the key, and the Ogroid Myrmidon has been picked because he is tough and strong and scary. The defender must pick one terrain piece to be the vault door. This bit of wall is hiding a vault. Think of it like a Skyrim like cellar down here or something, which we're going to use this to denote. That is the vault door. Now you might be wondering why pick something so close to the key carrier. Well, it doesn't matter until the end of the game whether he's there or not, and the reinforcements for Nurgle's side are here and over there, which puts them in a prime position to kind of try and gank the Ogroid Myrmidon, because he is a tough cookie to take down, and that seems like the best bet. Plus it might make him waste his first turn if he decides to move down there, but who knows. So that's it, that's the setup. We're going to roll some dice now and see how things shake out. So here is the round 1 dice. The Iron Golems rolled a double 1 and then a 3, 4, 5, 6. They have opted to bank their wild die and not spend it this turn, so that is all they're getting for that. The Rotbringers, though, they rolled a triple 1, all the ones across the board. They opted to use their wild die to turn their 4 they rolled into a double, and as a result just have 2 singles, so it will be the Iron Golems going first in round 1. The game got started with the Ogre Breacher activating and choosing to wait, which I think is the first time we've seen a wait action be used. You can technically use it as your second action. It basically just means you're throwing away your turn. If you activate a model and pick to wait for your first action, that means they are still free to react later in the turn, or at a later point in the turn to do their other action. So he's just going to sit there. He does only have 1 action left, but it's a way for him to try and force some movement into his threat range, to try and tie something up in combat, or otherwise do something besides just moving, because he doesn't really need to go anywhere with the vault so close to them. Well, you can only go so far when you have a movement characteristic of 3 inches. The Blight King activated and moved 2 times for a total of 6, and he's heading south around the scenery there to try and get round to where the vault is. Over to the Ogroid Myrmidon, he used up both actions just to get in position in front of the vault. As long as he's within 1 inch of the vault at the end of the game, that will be a win for the Iron Golem. So he's basically just planting himself there and saying, come and try and move me, which they'll certainly try and do at the top of turn 2, but for now they're just getting into position. And we're all ready to the last activation of turn 1 for the Rotbringers. The Harbinger of Decay activated, spent double on Rush, so 1 extra inch on every movement action, and just did 2 of those to follow the Blight King down, getting further because he's relatively faster on the horse, and is now in a position to threaten the Ogroid Myrmidon in turn 2, especially because the reinforcements are coming on, well, basically right where he is. Not all of them, that's just where the dagger comes on, but at least he'll have some backup. And the Ogre Breacher made use of his last action to just move his mighty 4 inches, so much further than the 3 inches that a Rotbringer is limited to, just to get into position to where you can see him. And that is it. That is the end of a very swift turn 1. We'll open up the top of turn 2 though, showing where all those reinforcements have appeared. So we're having to use a bit of an odd angle here just to try and see where everything has come in, but in front of the Harbinger, the dagger has arrived for their side in the form of the Lord of Plagues and the Sonorous Toxin wielding Blight King. And then scrunched into between 2 bits of scenery up here are the 3 other Blight Kings, 2 with filth encrusted shields and 1 with another blighted weapon. At the very top end of the table, the dagger for the Iron Golems have come in. That's the Dominar and the Legionary with iron bolas. And then over on to the right of your screens, that is where the Mind Stealer, I'm just going to call it the Mind Stealer, I can never remember if it's Phalanx or Sparanx. The Mind Stealer, the big scary monster that's going to take your face, has appeared up there to attack them in their flank. So with that all set up, now the real battle begins, and we're rolling some dice. And here's the results of the dice: a double 2 and a triple 5 for the Iron Golems. They had 2 wild dice, 1 for this round, 1 for the last round they didn't use. They have made a quad 5 and a triple 3, giving them just a little single 1 there. The Rotbringers rolled a triple 3, and they've used their wild die to make a double 6, leaving them with 2 singles, so they'll be going first in battle round 2. So the Lord of Plagues activated first, and in order to be able to take a swing at the Ogroid Myrmidon, he had to use their double for rush to give him that extra inch to make him 4 inches, otherwise he couldn't get within 1 inch to do the attack, which is kind of embarrassing. This is the world of Nurgle in which we live. So he did that, and then that let him take some swings with his big old axe. 3 of them at strength 5, but the Ogroid Myrmidon is toughness 6, so he needed 5s and 6s just to do anything. He got 1 crit, and nothing else on the attacks, but that is 5 wounds of the Ogroid Myrmidon's 30. The Ogre Breacher activated, moving into combat with the Lord of Plagues down here and taking a big swing with his hands at him. 2 dice, strength 6 against toughness 5, I think, either way definitely higher, and got 1 standard hit through and didn't roll that well, but that is still 4 wounds because of how ridiculously powerful the Ogre Breacher is. He does 8 damage on a crit, but only 4 there to the Lord of Plagues. I have a feeling it's going to get very cramped down here. The Blight King with the Sonorous Toxin activated, immediately spending their triple on Toll of the Sonorous Toxin. Until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the move characteristic of friendly fighters while they make a move action that starts within 7 inches of this fighter. In this case here, so it will affect the Harbinger and the other Blight King hidden at the back here. Won't reach anybody else though. Then he moved in to attack the Ogre Breacher and took 4 swings at him with that Sonorous Toxin. It is strength 3, I think. Either way, it's definitely beneath his toughness because he is toughness 5. And it's the first terrible roll of the match, getting absolutely nothing. Whoops. A 3, 2 2s and a 1. As bad as you can possibly get. Well, we're over this side of the battlefield because the Mind Stealer Sphinx, the Mind Stealer, activated. He moves 8 inches, so he can pretty much gun down the table relatively compared to everything else. He moved where you can see him. He spent his quad on a unique to him called Charm. Pick a visible enemy fighter within a number of inches of this fighter equal to the value of the ability. It was 5 in this case. That fighter cannot activate or make reactions at this battle round. So if you were hoping to see the Harbinger doing anything, unfortunately he isn't getting a turn. That is an incredibly potent ability, very worthy of being a quad. So he isn't doing anything this turn, he's just going to sit there and look really, really cool. Part of Team Scythe, if you're unaware, that was the connecting theme between the two of them. He still had an action left though, so he attacked within an inch of the Blight King here. 4 dice, strength 5 versus toughness 4. 2 wounds on a normal hit, 5 on a crit. And speaking of which, he got 1 normal hit and 1 crit. So that is 7 wounds, ironically, to the Blight King with the scythe. Well, you see, this is why you don't mess with someone wielding a scythe, the objectively best weapon in existence. The Blight King activated. Oh, he needs a I've done my movements token. There you are. He stayed where he was locked in combat. He could have done a disengage, but he doesn't want to. He just took that blighted weapon and swung it at the Mind Stealer. 3 dice, twice, strength 4 against toughness 5. So in total, this is across both attacks. He did manage to do a very, very respectable 10. I think he had 1 crit in the first roll and 2 crits in the second. Wait, no, it was 1 in each, plus 1 normal wound in the second. Yep, because that would add up to 10. And that is a third of the Mind Stealer's health. Right there, they've got 30 wounds. Now he's still potentially dangerous and he can still potentially steal activations if another quad can get rolled, so he is very much going to be a nuisance going forwards, but that's a good start. We're going to see a lot of movement from both sides now, most likely, thanks to the Harbinger not being able to do anything, although the Myrmidon hasn't activated yet. The Legionary with the Bolas activated, moved twice, he's towards the centre of the table, he's trying to get where the action is. And speaking of which, the same thing is basically happening over here with the first of 3 Blight Kings trying to get themselves out of that corner they spawned in at, with this one moving twice for a total of 6 inches to get where you can see him right there. One of my 2 favourite ones because it looks like the Nurgling inside is just piloting the armour. Oh man, we're doing the Ogroid Myrmidon's activation, but we're going to have to do it in steps just in case all the dice are required, because the first thing he did was spend the triple that the Iron Golems had left on Blood Marshal. Pick a visible friendly fighter within 4 inches, allocate 1 damage to them. If it doesn't kill them, they get to make a bonus attack action. So 1 wound was given to the Breacher, and his goal was to smack the you-know-what out of the Lord of Plagues, and he rolled Snake Eyes. So that was an utter waste. All that gained them was 1 wound on himself. Well, the Ogroid Myrmidon had his 2 actions, and he went for the strategy of, fine, I'll do it myself, choosing to stay where he was and attacking with his big spear there into the Lord of Plagues. 3 dice, strength 5, and managed across both attacks. That happens to be the results there. For the second, he's doing 4 damage on a normal hit, 8 on a crit. He did 16 in total to the Lord of Plagues. With the 4 he already has, that's 20 out of his, I think he has 35. It's slightly higher than everything else on the table, except maybe the Harbinger. The second of the 3 Blight Kings to the left side of the table has walked out with 2 movement actions and has stopped himself right there. And the final activation of the second turn for the Iron Golems was their leader, the Dominar, who did 2 movement actions for a total of 8, getting him roughly in the centre of the table next to the Legionnaire with bolas. And the final activation of the entire round was Slimy Hand McGee there, who just came out of, oh, it's been knocked slightly, came out of the gap there and just walked down with the other 2 Blight Kings. Nothing much to talk about there. And that takes us to the end of the round. Both sides have had their nose bloodied slightly. I think the Lord of Plagues is probably in the most dangerous position, and the Harbinger not getting to have an activation is probably really going to hurt them. But there's still 2 rounds, and the Myrmidon has lost a bit of health, only 25 more to go. And so we're straight to the dice for the penultimate turn already, round 3. A double 5 for the Iron Golems was turned into a triple with their wild die, so they have 4 singles to their name. A quad 1 was rolled by the Rotbringers, and they turned a single 6 into a double with their 1, having only just 1 single die left over, so it will be the Iron Golems going first in the second last round. And so round 3 got started with the Ogreoid Myrmidon activating, who's kind of literally the key to this. Well, still figuratively, but he's holding a literal key. He spent their triple on, once again, doing a Blood Marshal, dealing 1 wound to the Ogre Breacher to give him a free attack action into the Lord of Plagues. Again, the roll wasn't great. It's right there, in fact. Only 1 got through. For 4 wounds, though. Whoops. 4 wounds, because he is powerful, so it's a start. But, once again, he had to take matters into his own hands, so the Ogreoid Myrmidon did 2 attack actions, there we go, into the Lord of Plagues, and did a total of 12 wounds. And we're going to have to do maths, people, calm down. That is 30, 4, 5, 6, that is 36, he had 32 wounds, so the Lord of Plagues, as chunky as he was, is out of there. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, after the first attack went in, or on the first attack from the Ogreoid Myrmidon, if it looked like he was going to die anyway, he really should have done a reaction, although I think the Rotbringer reaction is just to try and mitigate damage. He got overkilled there, so it probably wouldn't have made a difference anyway, but that is something that should be remembered. Oh yeah, just as a follow-up, if he'd done 2 reactions, you subtract 1 wound for each successful hit in the attack that hits, which was 1 in the first attack and 2 in the second from the Myrmidon, I believe, or vice versa, which would have been a total of 3 less wounds, which would mean he still died, because that would be 33 of his 32, so nothing changed there. So do you want to know the other hilarious thing about the quad 1 being a thing that exists? The Rotbringers can't do anything with a quad, not naturally. They can use a generic one from the rulebook, but they don't have one of their own that's like especially good and very Nurgle themed. It's all triples. Anyway, the Harbinger activated and moved up and took a swing into the Ogreoid Myrmidon with his big scythe, managing to only get 1 normal hit through for 4 wounds. Getting through toughness 6 is quite difficult. But then he spent their double 6 on Virulent Discharge. That's just a generic thing, anything with the mark of Nurgle can do. You pick an enemy fighter within 1 and roll a number of dice equal to the value of the ability, and then for each 4+ allocate 1 damage. So rolling 6 dice, expecting or hoping for 3, got 1 extra 4+ on 6 dice. So in total he only managed to do a total of 5 there, taking him to 10 of his 30 with only 1 round left. He needs to die faster than that. On the plus side though, there is 3 eager Blight Kings right over here wanting to get stuck in. The Iron Legionnaire with the bolas activated to try and tie up one of those 3 Blight Kings, moving into within an inch of him, although his disengage action is exactly the same distance as a normal move from him, but he would have to head roughly away from him, so it would kill a bit of movement. Anyway, 2 dice, strength 3, he was looking for 5s and 6s as a result of going up against toughness 4, and did Bupkiss, no damage. Oh man, the Ogre Breacher cannot catch a break. Activated, attack twice into the Blight King armed with the Sonorous Toxin, in brackets a big bell, and one of his attacks was Snake Eyes again. So absolutely nothing there despite him attacking at strength 6. The other one he managed to do 1 wound, which, okay, fine, not a crit, but that's still 4 damage. But man, rolling Snake Eyes twice in 2 turns on the same guy is really rough. This was Team Nurgle's big chance. They spent their quad activating one of the Blight Kings here to use just the generic Rampage, I think it's called, which is a free move and free attack action, which got him into combat with the Ogreoid Myrmidon. So that attack combined with his 2 normal actions meant 3 attacks. Now the Filth Encrusted Shield Nurgle guys, Blight Kings, are not as aggressive as the standard type with the Blighted Weapon. 1 less die to roll. Same strength though and same damage numbers, but just 1 less die. So it wasn't the most optimal way to use it, but thought it would do better than a single success. Now the single success is a crit, but again, toughness 6, needing 5s and 6s to do anything. So all of the rest of these dice mean nothing. 1 crit got through for 4 more damage, meaning he's almost at half health. He's 1 wound away from half health, but that could have been so much better. The Mind Stealer did not get to steal any mines at this time, so he took out his aggression on the Blight King with the Blighted Weapon that he was locked in combat with, doing a staggering 16 wounds across both attacks. No reactions used there, which may have been a mistake had it not been for the fact that he held in there by the skin of his teeth. 16 damage, he had 7, so that's what, 23? And they have 25 wounds, so hilariously he survived with 2 wounds and is going to get to smack back at least 1 more time against the Mind Stealer. The second Blight King with Blighted Weapon, who absolutely should have been the one to do the onslaught or whatever it's called, the quad, because that would have been 3 extra dice. Let's just see, would it have mattered? You know what? Wouldn't have made a blind bit of difference. Needed 5s and 6s regardless. But he needed both move actions to move into combat with the Myrmidon. Last activation for the Iron Golems of the penultimate round was the Dominar, who did 2 movement actions to get over here to help out the Ogre Breacher, getting into combat with the Sonorous Toxin wielding Blight King, who I think is only... is he the last one to activate? No, 2 of them have... 3 of them actually have still got to activate. So it might be a mistake, although he can't really fit in down the way anyway. The Blight King up here, who was attacked by the Legionnaire with Iron Bolas, stayed there to hit him back, and only managed to do 1 successful hit in both attacks for a total of 4 wounds. Now, relatively speaking, that's actually okay because he has 10 wounds, so he's almost half dead, but was expecting a little bit better. If he'd managed to get like 1 crit in there, it would have one-shot him. Alright, second one of the 3 to go. Sonorous Toxin wielding Blight King attacked the Ogre Breacher, and he rolls a lot of dice. It's 4 dice, but he only does 1 damage on a normal hit and 4 on a crit. All said and done, going against toughness 5 on the Ogre Breacher, was a single crit got through for 4, taking his total wounds to 5, yeah, 5, and he has 30 in total. He's not going to die before the end of the game. Oh, pardon me, he's up to 6 damage of his 30 wounds. Massive difference. Not as bombastic of an effort this time from the final Blight King to activate, who once again just stayed where he was to swing into the Mind Stealer because it's personal, and he did 6 additional damage across both his attempts at an attack. 16 wounds, so just over half dead. And that does take us to the end of the penultimate round. The Ogreoid Myrmidon is not super close to dying. They're really going to have to try and pile it on him if they want him to perish before the end of the final turn, because he is right next to the vault, so he has to die. And so we come to the dice for the final turn of the game, and the Ogreoid Myrmidon must die, the hit movie spreading across the old world. Anyway, the Iron Golems rolled 3 doubles, so they used their last wild die to turn one of them into a triple. The Rotbringers, double 5, double 6, they have used their last wild die to turn it into a triple 6, leaving them with 2 singles, so they will be going first, and it does all come down to how much damage can they really do to that Myrmidon. They just need him to die, doesn't matter about anything else. Well, after deliberating on what the best way was to try and get this guy killed, the Harbinger activated and spent their triple on Grandfather's Blessing. Until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the strength characteristic of melee attack actions made by visible friendly fighters while they're within 7 of this fighter. So in other words, everyone around here is fighting, is now striking at strength, well, in most cases, strength 5. But we'll see if that makes any kind of a difference. Just realise actually, because he's strength toughness 6, it does not make a difference against the target of their attacks. But there wasn't really anything else to do with the triple anyway. He did attack twice with his scythe into the Myrmidon, got a hit and 2 crits through for 10 more wounds, which is pretty good. That puts him at 24, meaning he is 6 away from dying. And that's not insignificant, they could do that. Well, it's all coming down to over here, isn't it? So the Ogroid Myrmidon activated and spent a double on Berserk. You can only use this ability if you have 20 or more damage points. Add half the value of this ability rounding up to the attack characteristic of the next attack action made by this fighter that has a range characteristic of 3 or less. So I think he was rolling 3 extra dice in the one attack. It only is applicable for one attack. Then he did a normal basic second one, both into a Blight King that hasn't activated yet, to try and remove the total number of times he's going to get smacked. He did 16 with his first attack and 8 with his second. Adding those two together comes to 24, and that means that the Blight King survived with 1 wound remaining. That might have cost them the game right there. So I wasn't really being literal there, because I presumed it would take maybe 3 of the Blight Kings to try and finish him off. But the wounded one activated, attacked twice. There's the dice rolls. He hit and a crit got through there, nothing there. But that is a total of 6, 4 and 2, because he's using a blighted weapon. And that 6 wounds on top of the 24 he had is 30 on the dot. And that does mean that the Ogroid Myrmidon is dead. I'm just double checking, it was 30. Yes, it is 30. So he is dead. Now, he is classed as carrying treasure, and that's because you can drop the treasure, because another friendly could pick it up, or an enemy could pick it up. Now, the problem is, if the if the Ogre Breacher does a disengage action, he can't go this way, because that would leave him within an inch of additional enemies. That means the disengage is an illegal move. He would have to come up here. Now, if he does that, and then comes back around, it might be possible that he picks it up. You need to double check the rules for picking up treasure, because if he can't, or if a Dominar can't, because they're both engaged currently with the Sonorous Toxin wielding Blight King, the game is essentially over, because he isn't, or they can't get anyone to pick it up. In fact, he could go and pick it up next turn for the Rotbringers. So I'm going to double check the rules on treasure, picking it up, how close you need to be, how you need to do it, and we'll see if we can find a ruling. Well, with the benefit of hindsight, that Blight King probably wouldn't have attacked until later in the turn. The way treasure works is, if the person holding treasure is killed, the controlling player of that fighter puts it within an inch of where they were on the platform or battlefield floor, depending on how it happened, horizontally. And anyone can pick it up if they do a move action that takes them within an inch of it. For disengage actions, you can't initiate a disengage unless you can get at least 3 inches away from who you're engaged with and don't end up within an inch of an enemy fire. But that does mean the Ogroid, every time, the Ogre Breacher can do a disengage action like that, and he does pass within an inch of a treasure token, meaning he can pick it up. And he has to go for the win, stay within an inch of where the vault is, which he can do. So that seems like it's all entirely legal within the rules, which means obviously shouldn't have tried to kill the Ogroid Myrmidon, should have burned some activations elsewhere, but that's a mistake. Also, because it counts as classed as treasure, he should have actually been getting his movement speed reduced, I believe by 2, and you can't make disengage actions when you're holding treasure, not that that came up, but just in general. There is also rules that monsters can't hold them and beasts. The Myrmidon does not have either of those rune marks, so that seems perfectly fine as well. But the important part is, it does seem perfectly legal now, unfortunately for the Rotbringers, that the Ogre Breacher has just done a disengage followed by a slight move, and now he is the target, and he still has 24 wounds left, which is probably going to be unattainable, but let's see. Well, after a glance at the battlefield, the Blight King that was sitting here is the only one who can do anything to the Ogre Breacher. Moved into combat, attacked him once, got a crit through, so that's 4 wounds, but that isn't 24 or whatever he had, and no one else can get him. Sonorous Toxin wielding one is in combat with the Dominar. He's in combat there and would have to pull out to the side, which means you couldn't reach him. So there is no possible way. Now, before we end, because it is going to be an Iron Golems victory now as a result, we're going to just go back down to the Mind Stealer Spheranx, and the Blight King that's been fighting him, just to see what happens. I think the Mind Stealer's got it, because he'll attack now, but let's see. Yep, so not only did the Mind Stealer get the kill, but he did it in style by spending their 444 on, what was it called? Steal Mind? Where's that skill? It was called Dominate Mind. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 6 inches of this fighter and roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability, 4 in this case. On a 1, nothing happens. On a 2 to a 5, allocate 1 damage. On a 6, allocate 3 points of damage. And of those 4 dice, the other one's over here. He got 3 through for 3 more wounds. Total of 26. He has what, 24 or 25? I keep forgetting, I think it's 25. It's definitely not 26. So the Blight King was taken out just as one last kick in the pants before the end of the match, with the Iron Golems being the victors. Well, there we have it. The survivors celebrating as the Dominar raises his weapon aloft and pretends that he did anything, while everybody else knows that it wasn't him. Maybe the Mind Stealer is controlling him, who knows. Either way though, it was an Iron Golem's victory due to just a misunderstanding, well not even a misunderstanding, just not really knowing the treasure rules and how they work when the treasure gets dropped. That turned out to be crucially important after the Myrmidon actually died. So he isn't invincible, he can go down with enough focus on him, despite being toughness 6 and having 30 wounds and being pretty scary himself. Would have made a difference had the Ogre Breacher gotten more value out of the 2 uses of Blood Marshal. At best it would have equaled the Sonorous Toxin Blight King dying, so if anything the Ogre Breacher would have had a bit more free movement. Beyond that I don't think it would have made much of a difference. Mind Stealer is definitely fun. You've got to get a quad to make him be absolutely appalling. Stealing one of the turns from one of my favourite miniatures to ever exist, the Harbinger, was rough for sure. Not that he's like super powerful or anything, he looks more cool than you'd think the power level he puts out is, because it's not that great, but he's also not super expensive. Like the Mind Stealer's almost 300 points of the 1,000 on its own, so we've got to provide value at that kind of cost. So either way, that is going to conclude another Warcry for the channel. Definitely trying to get more models painted up in the future. There is actually another Nurgle warband, kind of like a tangential Nurgle warband called Rotmeyer's Creed, or Rotmeyer Creed. Hoping to get those done at some point. They're a fun, different take on Nurgle followers, but that's a story for another day. I hope you enjoyed watching this one though. Please do remember to show your support, and if you'd like to go above and beyond to support what we do here on the channel, consider becoming a channel member, which includes timed exclusives, which this one will have been, I believe. And you can also press the thanks button, or you can check out the channel sponsor to pick yourself up something. If you do it via the affiliate link in the description box below, I will get compensated if you buy anything. Thank you very much either way, enjoy the rest of your day, and see you next time for something else. Until then, ta-ta for now.